Now, World Vision is the largest international child-focused humanitarian and developmental non-governmental organisation in the world. Over 34,000 people work for World Vision around the world in 100 countries, where they impact on the lives, they say, of over 200 million vulnerable children. Let's speak this morning to Gillian Barnett, who's the Chief Executive Officer of World Vision Ireland. Good morning to you, Gillian, and thank you indeed for joining us on the programme today to talk about your Enough campaign. This is a global campaign to end child hunger, and in line with that, you're releasing an Ipsos survey which highlights how much the problem is and how many children are impacted. People will be very surprised, I think, to hear the amount of children who are dying from hunger and malnutrition across the world. It's a problem that has got worse this year after 40 years of declining numbers. Tell us a little bit more about your survey, if you would, please, Gillian.
Oh, thank you, Michael, and thank you for speaking with me this morning. And actually, it's a wonderful day to be speaking to you because today is actually World Children's Day. Today, in 1959, the rights of the child was adopted by the UN General Assembly. But as we celebrate this anniversary of the convention, we are, as you've already said, witnessing the largest global child hunger and malnutrition crisis in modern history. And today, as we speak, 35 million people are on the brink of famine. And it's a really sad indictment that nearly half of all deaths in children under 5 are as a result of this undernutrition. World Vision are indeed launching our Enough campaign. There are 8 billion tonnes of food every year, and that is enough food for every single person living in the world today. And we're finding that children are bearing the brunt of this unequal food system. It is disrupted by things like conflict and climate change, but they have had enough, and we are standing with them to say we've also had enough.
Yeah, well, because children are dying. As you say, there's enough food in the world, there's enough money in the world, and based on that, no child should go to bed hungry, let alone die of hunger or malnutrition. Why is it the case? I think conflict is quite often part of the problem, is it?
Yes, we find that nearly half of the children in the world who are dying of malnutrition are living in areas where there is conflict, and that's it's just shocking, really. And but we also do know that most people, when you ask them, would say they would love an end to hunger, and we know that every world leader and politician would say the same. But the problem is that there has been a distinct lack of progress on any of the hunger and malnutrition targets for children in the world. And so it really now is time, if we do want to make any impact at all, that we have to stand and say we're joining with children around the world to make sure that they do have enough nutritious food to survive.
Right. I think it's very easy to get distracted from some of the problems in the world because of the conflict in Gaza now, which has focused all of our minds. And perhaps we can talk about that in a moment. But maybe you could tell us about the situation in places that have been the areas where we've seen conflict recently, like Afghanistan. I think people are bracing themselves for the winter coming there, are they?
Yes, they are. So Afghanistan is one of the countries where it is absolutely the worst place in the world to be a woman, and a terrible, terrible place to be a child. We know that the world's focus is now not as much on Afghanistan as it was a few months ago when they told, or when the news came out that they were stopping girls from going to school. And there has been a little bit of progress on that in terms of younger girls, but we are still in a position where older girls are still not able to access education, which then, as you can imagine, then leads on to them not being able to earn. Their children, as they grow older, they're not being trained in really critical skills like midwifery, which means then that when women do get pregnant and have to give birth, because of the cultural sensitivities there, they're often being left with untrained women to deliver their babies. So the whole situation in Afghanistan is one of great worry to most people. And there are not a lot of agencies left now in Afghanistan. World Vision are one of the few agencies left there, working with children in particular.
And can you get in and ensure that children are fed in Afghanistan or in any of these countries around the world?
Yes, we can. So World Vision are the largest partner of the World Food Programme. And so together with the World Food Programme, particularly in Afghanistan, World Vision Ireland are working very closely to make sure that that actual food is being granted. And in most, not all, but in most areas of conflict, there are usually humanitarian passages where agencies can get in and provide food. It's often not easy, but usually that is the case, that they can get in.
Right. We're talking about an awful lot of people who are hungry, though, aren't we? The number of people who are extremely hungry or suffering from extreme hunger, if you prefer, has doubled, you say, in the last 3 years to 58 countries around the world. We're talking about 2.4 billion people who didn't have enough to eat last year alone. It's an exceptional challenge.
It is an exceptional challenge, and World Vision have already launched a global hunger response. That's the largest emergency response we've ever taken, and so far we have actually managed to reach 22 million. But as you said earlier, Michael, the crisis has been worsening. So we were improving things, but in the last number of years, the situation is declining to actually the point where you'll remember Live Aid and the awful harrowing images you saw of people in Ethiopia at the time, and we are actually now back into that situation. So a lot of agencies are focusing on this hunger crisis. With World Vision, we started the global hunger response, but it wasn't enough. And so that's why we are all focused. So the entire organisation around the world in the 100 countries are focusing now on what we are calling our Enough campaign, to say that there is enough food in the world for every child, and that we've had enough of the food systems and the distribution being so unfair.
It's every child in the world, and it's across the world. As you say, the Horn of Africa, probably one of the worst corners of the world because of succession of years where there's been no rain simply, and it's led to drought. But you say from Bangladesh to America, children are hungry. That includes Ireland as well. And if there is all of the money in the world, if there is all of the food in the world, I take it the reason why there's children hungry in Ireland or Bangladesh is because there isn't the will to feed those children.
There isn't the will to share. So I think if you drill down, most people would want children to have enough food. But the problem is that there isn't the will to change the systems that are currently quite imbalanced. And so we are really calling that children's voices are heard, because they've got amazing opinions. They're living through it. And in fact, actually today on our Instagram channel in World Vision Ireland, children are taking over the site, and they're going to be telling us themselves in their own words what they think and ideas that they have. It's really, really important to listen to children. But it's also very important that because children are the most vulnerable in every society, that they don't have agency, that we give them that agency, and that their voices are heard, and that most importantly policies are specifically include the rights of children, which are often different to the rights of other adults in the policies that we're creating.
Can you talk to us about Gaza, which is undoubtedly the biggest challenge for any NGO in the world at the moment? Antonio Guterres over the weekend talking about a trickle of aid getting into a notion of need. There is nowhere near enough aid getting into Gaza, in other words, and that will continue to be a problem for some time to come. But there is hope of this 5-day pause now in return for the release of hostages. How much can be done in 5 days, do you think, Gillian?
I think it's very welcome. The news is very welcome. Any news that says of any cessation to violence against children is always very welcome. And I think that the agencies there are ready to go. There's aid there, so they just need that safe passage to get in. So it's a good piece of news, and we just need to pray. I think that continues. That the enabling of aid getting in continues.
Okay, well, if people wish to support your Enough campaign, they can do so through your website at worldvision.ie, I think.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you very much. It would be really fantastic just to visit it, see the stories from the children themselves on the site, and if anyone does have any money that they can spare coming up to Christmas, it would be really gratefully received, and the impact will be massive. So please do visit our website.
Okay, worldvision.ie. Gillian, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme today. Gillian Barnett is the Chief Executive Officer of World Vision Ireland.